All right, guys, this is Brandon again from 13 Market Moves, and I wanted to present to you about iRobot IRBT Q3 October 20th, 2020 after hours earning. So we've done some extensive historical review and fundamental review on this stock, and we wanted to share with you what our thoughts are and how we're going to play this after earnings. Now, this is one of those stocks that basically has done fairly well, and we're coming into October or Q3, and it's a little bit tricky to play. And so we wanted to go over some of the nuances, the historical perspectives, and understand what's going on in the earnings, and see if we can come up with and show you how to profit off of this for the earnings play. Okay, so without further ado, let's get moving into the meats and potatoes of this. Okay, so historically, iRobot has been hit a little bit after the pandemic right here, and they pretty much got a pass, and the earnings have been pretty decent. Okay, one of the things that they're looking for is can they produce a non-GAAP or GAAP EPS that is going to be positive in this coming quarter. One of the things that we need to understand about these guys, this is a high flying stock. I mean, they're beating all of the estimates handedly. And their revenues and everything else, they've been beating and beating. So there's a lot of high expectations built into the stock. And as I'm making this video today, the stock is running up. It broke out of its base and it's running up high into the stratosphere at an all-time high. And so that gives us an opportunity. And then we'll kind of talk about that and how to play this. This is a earnings play that we need to wait and let the dust settle a little bit because October or Q3 is a pretty tricky earnings day to trade. And so the price action is a bit tricky. So we'll go over all those nuances that we talked about. But in general, I think the consensus estimate for Q3 is 75 cents. But also it's at an all-time high at this point, and a lot of the institutions that's ridden this stock up since March lows are going to probably want to take some profits off the table, especially because there is election risk. Remember, guys, election is due in what? The next, less than 2 weeks? Oh my God. Okay, so let's move on right along. I wanted to go over the macro view of daily chart of iRobot and then point out kind of the price action that was prevalent after each earnings. So iRobot, we're reporting the Q3 today after the bell. So Q2, July 1st, they reported earnings. It was July 21st, 2020. It was very bullish, and guess what happened? They were kind of hitting the 6-month highs and kind of stalling out, and they reported excellent earnings, and guess what happened? It gapped down and then proceeded to sell off. Okay, are we going to get that type of a price action, or are we going to get something else? And let's find out. And it decided to sell off for the next 3 days, which made for a really, really lucrative trade to take on. Okay, now on the Q1, April 28, 2020, again, they got a pass because of the pandemic. They reported horrible numbers, but everybody expected it. I guess it just wasn't horrible enough. So what happened was horrible numbers. They basically came down and sold off a little bit and then went bullish and then decided to run up for the rest of the week. Up into that area. Now, Q4 February 5th was really good earnings. So when they report good earnings, and they've been blowing out numbers, and they have to beat these high expectations every time. And basically in February 5th, this is right before that whole pandemic started, it gapped up and it just went higher. But then it stalled out and decided to sell off the next couple of days. So it's so we have we know how this stock behaves, and so we have certain things that we want you to look at, and we want you to pay attention to on this very complicated price action movement. So it behooves us to wait and see, at least give it the first 15 minutes after the earnings are reported tomorrow to see the price action. But we'll discuss that in a bit. Q3, October 22nd. So let's compare. This is the most recent October or Q3 earnings from last year that we saw. They reported decent earnings, and then what happened was they gapped down significantly and then basically decided to rally back up and then move up in a bullish fashion for the next couple of days. July tends to be for this stock historically the worst month, or the Q2. They reported, again, decent earnings, but it sold off anyways because there's such a high expectations with these big gaps, right? And then basically it opened lower, went lower and stalled out, and then went higher and then decided to sell off. So every stock has a behavior in which they trade after earnings. And I'm trying to show you what the stock does. Okay, so let's go into a little bit deeper dive into iRobot Q2 July 21st. And so this is the earnings day. They reported after hours and they reported great numbers. And then what happened is that they sort of had a mini gap down and then tried to rally initially and then just sold off. And then it went for the next 2 additional days, sold off from $82 and ended the rest of the week at 71. So again, it's a question of what is the stock going to do? Okay, is it going to open up and then go? Or is it going to open up and slightly and then sell off? And so it is very, very important to understand what this stock does. And for this, in July 21st, it just sold off for the rest of the day. And so it would have been one of those things that if you held on, but majority of the move was done in the first couple of hours. April was basically they got a pass. Okay, everybody reported bad earnings, and you can see the day before earnings when they reported after hours, the stock basically opened a little bit lower and then tested the lower range, and so there was a range of 55.5 to about 52.5 range. But really, it stalled out and started to move back up and finished the day at the highs of the day. Now, ironically, and then it went up higher for the next day. And so ironically, this makes for a very difficult and a tough price action to short, because on the one hand, if it starts to sell off, it's going to suck a lot of the bears that went, aha, it's terrible, so it's going to sell off, but then it stalls out and starts to aggressively move up for the rest of the day. Okay, so really, whatever direction it is, most of these moves and the changes in move and character is going to come within the first 2 hours of the trading. By about 10:30 to 11 a.m., you'll know what direction it's going to go. And if you have been shorting and it's going in that direction, it's going to stall out and go the other direction, then you know when to get out. Now, Q4 on February 5th, 2020, there's no question about it. They blew out their numbers, and basically it gapped up, and there was no pretenses. I mean, it basically just did a little blip and started to move up higher, and so this was just a gap and go. But what happened? Okay, so one day a bullish movement, but this is the generalized theme, is that maybe you buy shorts or you short the next day at the top, and it tends to sell off for the remainder of the day. And this is kind of the characteristic that we see on this stock in general, is that day 2 is the time that you want to kind of maybe establish a short position if the market conditions permit. Now, iRobot on Q3, October 22nd. Now we're coming into our Q3. Let's do some comparison here. This is the most recent, 2019. And so what happened was they reported earnings after hours. And basically, it was bad. I mean, they reported bad numbers, and it gapped aggressively, but it stalled out and moved up pretty aggressively. And so there is no plays here for a bearish sign. You either decide that you're going to buy calls, or you're going to get left behind, and you're going to lose a lot of money. There was a $5 of movement on a $44 stock. That's pretty significant. So you can see how far the stock has run up in 1 year's span, and it's nearly doubled. Okay, but the expectations are super high. Okay, just remember that. Okay, now on July 2018, October 2018. This is still Q3. We're comparing it to 2019 now. Reported earnings on the 23rd and then gap down, right? Opened here, went up, so you could short the top. Okay. You can always see a gap, and then it basically on lower volume goes up. You want to short that top and then capture that movement, right? That movement went from 84 to 77, 87 to 77, about $10 of movement. Again, what are we looking for? If it gaps down and it moves up on lower volume, and you'll be able to see this price action, and it stalls out at a certain point, you don't want to bet the farm on it, but you definitely want to be able to recognize that, seeing that it hit the top end resistance level, and then get into the short side for a $10 move. And these moves occur fairly rapidly. Again, on this situation, the move was done by 11:15 a.m. So what's the moral of the story? When the market opens at 9:30, establish a position, pick your direction, make sure it's not going to fake you out. And if it's going to be a pretty good movement, make sure you know your top and bottom ranges, because this thing likes to bounce around. And it basically tested the top, opened here, tested the top where you should be shorting right here, and then ride it all the way down and get out. Okay, 11:15 a.m. Okay, so I wanted to go further because in 2017, okay, expectations were fairly high in 2017, kind of like right now, okay? The difference is that 2017 was a pretty bullish year. It wasn't a terrible market like 2018 was in the fall. But regardless, they reported excellent earnings, and they gapped up and moved up even further. They opened here from the gap up. Here's the gap. Opened here, moved up a little, stalled out, and then sold off, okay, significantly. So this could be a couple of days worth of hold, but look at the range. I mean, it hit almost $82 and then hit the bottom range of 64-ish, 65. So that's a pretty decent sized move, $18 move. That would have paid you, okay? So we got to, again, understand that this is a stock that likes to jump around and fake you out in the morning, okay? There could be a lot of reversals, and a lot of longs probably got faked out here. What we're going to need to look at is look at the volume, price to volume action, and then make sure that we know our levels, okay? See where our resistance level is, and if it gets rejected on higher volume, then we can establish our shorts. If it does the opposite, where it comes down here and comes aggressively down, not in this chart, but if it does that and it stalls out, you got to buy calls. You will get paid. You just got to know if you're getting faked out on this stock. So here's the key takeaways, okay? Number one, iRobot currently is hitting highs. Not necessarily all-time highs, but it is hitting the last 6 months worth of highs, okay? I mean, it is literally bullish as heck, okay? Today it's breaking out of its base in anticipation for a blowout earnings. But remember, in that anticipation, just like my 2017 review, okay, looks aren't everything, okay? Remain patient, look for a reversal and stalling action in the direction, and take the opposite direction of that move. Will it be sell the news this time? I mean, are they sucking in the longs? Okay, there is election risk. And today the market is, October 20th, 2020. As I'm making this video, market's rallying based on stimulus hopes. And unless we see that, this could be a massive sell the news event once it gets announced also. iRobot has a lofty earnings projection to meet, okay? We are still in the middle of a pandemic. A lot of the businesses have been shut down despite Trump's administration's assertion that the economy is improving. We've taken a hit. And these are consumer discretionary things. Remember, iRobot makes those Roomba vacuum cleaners, and predominantly that's where their majority of their revenue comes from. And so it would be far-fetched, unless they have some earth-shattering news that they're going to start getting into AI and it's farther along than we thought. I just don't see how this lofty expectations, even if they meet it, is not going to be sold, especially at these levels, right? So iRobot in general has beaten all EPS and revenue estimates in 2020 and 2019. So they are high performing. But the thing is that this thing has been bought up, and it's just it's at a level where it's simply overbought. And really, the major institutions that are holding this are probably going to look to maybe lock in some of their gains. Now, consumer discretionary items may be slowed down by COVID lockdowns, right? We know that to be true. And if we don't get any stimulus payment, you know what to do. If there is no stimulus announcement, I know that they're coming out today saying that they're very, very close. But, likely, I just don't know. I'm not a political guy, but I just don't see the stimulus happening before the election, okay? So let's take a look at the technical side of the chart and then see what we can glean from this. Now, understand this. When I put this chart together, this was yesterday when I was doing my technical analysis, but nothing's really changed. All it is that we have a bar that's a little bit higher right now. It broke out at these levels and it's sitting right here. So in the last 6 months, it's broken out of a nice little cup base right here, and it's broken out. The question is, it's critical to know that is it going to go parabolic, or is it going to be this it? And basically, it might pop a little higher and then sell off. And my guess is, and my assertion is that it may pop a little higher after the earnings and it'll stall. And as soon as it stalls, you buy the heck out of that shorts, okay? What does Leo say? Short the hell out of it, right? Let's do it, okay? And I think that's what's coming. So I just wanted to see, the RSI was kind of flat and stagnating. And then, of course, I said MACD is stalling, but it's not bearish, okay? And so that still remains to be true. And the accumulation is stalled and negative even today, okay? The accumulation of the stock has not been increasing. In fact, it's basically stalled out. So those are little clues that we need to look at to see how we want to trade this. Number one, there is a distinct possibility. Like I said, today it's right about here at 97, 98 level. Okay. Yesterday when I did this, it was probably a 92-ish. Okay. And it would not surprise me for them to beat their numbers. Okay. And pop a little bit higher. But if it stalls and if it pops on lower volume, that's going to be your key. You're going to establish buy puts this week's expiration, and then ride it down. At the very least, from 98, we think that it's going to retest down to the 85 level or further, okay? I just see a lot of these stocks that have run up significantly having some profit taking that's going to be happening. Just take a look around at the current earnings about what's happened to IBM and all the other calls that we've made, from Intuitive Surgical to everything else that we talked about, okay? So, with that in mind, just don't expect anything. Just be very, very cognizant of its price action. For whatever reason, if they don't beat their earnings or earnings are a disappointment, we're going to expect a gap down. The question is, after the gap down, is it going to attempt right away to move up? Or is it going to test a little bit further down and not stall out and keep going? Or is it going to stall and then move back up? So those are kind of the nuances, experienced traders only. But really what you want to be able to find out from here is that is there going to be a fake out? Okay. Little tricky, but it can be very lucrative. Now, so how do we trade IRBT? So I talked a lot more about that, but October earnings are usually bearish, but it can gap down and reverse direction, stall and reverse in a bullish direction, right? Or it could gap up and then stall and then reverse in a bearish direction. The main thing to understand is that it will stall. If it stalls and then reverses, that's the time to get into action, whether in the put side or call side, okay? You have to make that determination. Price to volume relationship is going to be key. Also, earnings are going to be dependent on guidance. And if you haven't noticed my IBM video that I put out, and that was put out, that video was made about 3 days ago. Sorry, it got out later. But really, if they don't offer guidance like IBM did, they're going to suffer the same fate. It just basically says that they're not sure about the future, especially for consumer discretionary stock like this. It's going to be a death sentence. So pay attention to the guidance. If they guide low, inline, or if they don't offer guidance, expect this thing to sell off. Okay. Now, gap ups can be bought and shorted near the top. We talked about that as long as it stalls out. Look at the volume and look at your levels at the outermost resistance ranges, okay? Better know your support and resistance ranges. You short the gap down for continuation, okay? If it gaps down and there is no stalling action, okay, you can basically short this, okay? But if it's short, if it gaps up, you want to be able to short the tops for 1 to 2 additional days. There will be continuation for 1 to 2 additional days. Even if it gaps up and it's bullish the first day, look at the day 2. So in this case, after Wednesday, on Thursday, look for another attempt, and then if it stalls out, you establish your short position. Or if it comes down here and then stalls out on the downside, you go long or you go short, okay? Again, the key is wherever it stalls out, okay? That's what's going to be the key, okay? So we think that overall the direction is going to be after the earnings. I think there may be a little bit of a pop if they report and blow out their earnings like they do. I can't tell what they're going to report, but they have a history of beating numbers, okay? But guidance is going to be key. And if they blow out their numbers, just watch the gap up. And then look for the volume. If there's heavy volume coming in, you know they're buying that up. You have to buy calls. But if it gaps up and then moves up a little bit, maybe $1 or $2, and then stalls out, then buy puts. Okay? So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. We really enjoy doing this. If you have any questions or you want to learn more about our 13 Market Moves community, click the link below and schedule a free 20-minute consultation to get your questions answered. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, this is Brandon. Thank you so much for listening to me, and good luck tomorrow and through this earnings season. We're just kicking some major ass in terms of our calls, and so I hope you are too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Do you know what is actually the best day of the week to day trade and why? I'm about to show you something that most of day traders don't even dream about, and what all the trading gurus, coaches, and experts think is absolutely impossible. Now, the reason why they think that is because they all learned the same courses on trading, like basic stuff like trade the trend, guys. That's not gonna make you any money. So if you're tired of your account going nowhere, if you're tired of losing money, pay attention. Now, I'm super busy trading, so I'm actually gonna have Monica walk you through details. Now, all the experts will tell you, don't trade on Fridays. Why? Because they've been taught and conditioned to think that. Because they don't know the secrets that I know. I'm about to reveal to you that exactly the opposite is true. The only day you want to day trade is on Friday. Check out some of my recent Friday trades. 1,000 to 4,300, 2,000 to 26,000, 2,000 to 53,000 day trading, 4,000 to 63,000 day traded, 4,000 to $144,000 in under 8 hours day traded. The reason why they don't think this is possible is because they don't know what I know and what my students know. Now check out my students. 195,000 in day trading profits recently. 356,000 in trading profits recently. If you've been going to countless webinars trying to learn how to trade, if you've been taking courses where everybody's teaching you the same stuff over and over again, no wonder why your account is stuck. No wonder why you're trading this stock, guys. If you're tired of sales pitches, countless webinars, and all the same stuff that everybody's trying to teach you when it comes to day trading and swing trading, let me show you how real trading is done. Watch me trade live right now, 4K to 63K in under 9 hours. All trades are triple verified by independent agencies. Stop wasting time doing the same thing over and over again. Stop the excuses. This is real. This is possible. Let me show you how you can learn the formula that can allow you to trade like this. If you're ready to take your trading game to the next level, let's roll. Click the link somewhere around this video. Click the button somewhere around this video and watch now or forever regret not knowing the secrets that could have finally taken your trading game to the ultimate victory in the Super Bowl of trading. Let's roll. Ready to take your trading skills to the next level, guys? Let's do this. I'm gonna have Monica take it over from here. On the next page, make sure, don't be shy, say hi to Monica. She is ready to reveal the secrets of trading like a rock star. Just click the watch now button. Be nice to her. Don't be flirting now. Click the watch now button and let the show begin.